involved in so many of these cases, for
Right.
you know, abused women cases. What do you think turned the jury in Mary's favor?
The shoes. I mean,
It was
you said
about
it.
the shoes.
What was
The
it about
shoe-
the
well-
shoes? Because I saw that and I thought, well, big deal, just don't wear them.
The shoes affects their prurient southern instincts. It bothers them that the shoes, you know, this is a pornographic kind of thing for them. It incensed them.
That he was the ultimate hypocrite, no question
Right.
about it. But does he deserve to die?
It's more than that. The shoes are more than just that appealing to the prurient interest. The shoes are tangible evidence that her story about all the other things was true. The jury is watching her. They're determining whether she's telling the truth or trying to get a sense from it. And all of a sudden, to back up the abuse, both mental and physical, out come these shoes. And at that point, it's kind of hard to...
That's not really the case. You know, if you just have the shoes...
Call the cops.
You know, yeah, I mean, come on. The shoes are just going to convict this lady?
Get a divorce.
Just, you know, just going to drop it down from murder to manslaughter? So you got shoes so you let her walk on a murder? You let her walk on blowing away the preacher?
Bruce, try to...
Father of 3 daughters?
How is the defense effective in making this woman seem like such a sympathetic figure when, I mean, we all know that there are certain cultural and religious issues that we were dealing with there, but she could have gotten a separation. She could have gone to the police. She could have gotten a divorce.
I understand, though, why she
didn't have to take a human being's life.
Well, I think what happened was the defense, in putting on their proof, in showing what she went through over these years, she created a lot of sympathy, and at the same time, there was disillusionment with what had been the perfect preacher. You know, and be very careful when we get disillusioned with our heroes or people on a pedestal, when they're shown not to be on that pedestal. So there was a double thing going on at the same time. She became sympathetic for having to endure this double life that she was forced to lead.
Yeah, it's creepy, no question about it.
And he became not the, you know, saint of all time preacher, but in effect a hypocrite that on Sunday preached to the choir and in his bedroom forced a mousy little woman to act like a slut.
This only happened only because the prosecution was asleep. This is because the prosecution didn't try their case. The prosecution, if they would have went in there...
Where did they, as you say,
first of all, they didn't voir dire the jury. They absolutely didn't voir dire the jury. They let 10 women on there, and they didn't ask the women whether they're involved in beatings before, whether they're involved with husbands that abused them, whether they're involved with anything that went wrong with their marriages, and they let them stay. They didn't challenge them for cause, they didn't challenge them for exemption, and they let them stay on the jury.
Bruce, do you disagree with that?
I totally disagree, because we all know in criminal law, and I've done 19 murder trials in the last 6 years, the prosecution wants female jurors because with a female defendant, because female jurors tend to be much more critical of another female.
Female jurors are much more critical. However, Bruce, they don't let them. They don't.
Real quickly,
You got to do voir dire on them and make sure that they weren't abused and they don't have some bias.
We want to make sure, though, we get to the other aspect of this case. Hold on, Bruce. Let's get to the other thing that we're talking about this morning. She wants custody of the 3 kids back.
Right, and she's a wacko.
But this reminds me of that Clara Harris case, doesn't it? This isn't, of course, the first case of women fighting for their children after killing their father.
Yeah, back in 2003, you remember Clara Harris. She repeatedly ran her car over her cheating husband. Remember, this was in the parking lot. It was a parking lot that they I think, spent their wedding night in.
The hotel.
She kept running him over, running him over. With the daughter in the car. The daughter was in the car.
Mommy, don't kill Daddy.
Yeah, unfortunately for Clara Harris, her deadly driving was caught on the surveillance video, and we all remember seeing that. And as you can see...
Over and over.
Yeah, she really made sure she got the job done.
But this custody issue is totally a different issue.
These 2 people were both dentists, you may remember that.
We agree on that.
Yeah,
this custody issue is totally a different issue.
Yeah, this woman was a dentist. Her husband was a dentist. The woman was upset because she found her husband
in that hotel.
At a hotel with his mistress.
Yeah. So now the Clara Harris got 20 years. She's in jail. Right. But went on to win custody of their twin sons. With us today is Joe Stevens, attorney for the parents of David Harris, Clara's murdered husband. And thank you for joining us. Now, bring us up to date. Claire is in jail for 20 years. Is it going to be one of those cases where she gets out in, 3 years or something like that?
No, she's got to serve at least 10 years of her sentence because they found that the car was a deadly weapon. So she's got, 3 or 4 more years at least.
Where are the kids?
And the kids are with the neighbor, Anna Jones. After the trial, Clara gave the kids to the neighbor instead of the grandparents, Gerald and Mildred, who I represented.
And Gerald and Mildred wanted the grandchildren, and they supported Clara I think, which surprises a lot of people. They supported her throughout the trial, and I think ultimately in the end, if the casual observer would say, wow, you know, they really got screwed over here.
Yeah, without any question, Clara, after this happened, begged them for forgiveness. She told them, look, this was an accident, and, you know, please help me out.
This is their son
Yeah.
that she killed.
Yeah, this was their son. And Gerald and Mildred, anybody that's ever met them, will tell you that their love runs so deep. The last thing they wanted was to have their grandchildren separated from both their mother and their father. So they supported her at the criminal trial and begged the jury to let her off and said she's a good mother, and I know she didn't intend to do this. But amazingly, after the trial, immediately after the conviction, she handed them a note and said, look, I've changed my mind. The children are going to the neighbor.
And these neighbors were her friends.
A neighbor that was her friends. But you know, this devastated them because, you know, they felt like they had been used and manipulated, and she got what she wanted from them. And, you know, she was just going to take the kids and give them to the neighbor.
It's kind of surprising to some people that she even has rights at all in a custody battle. But the reason we wanted to have you on, Joe, we want to have you make a prediction now in this Mary Winkler case. Will she get those 3 kids?
You know, it's a tough issue, and what the judge is going to need to decide is, you know, is she stable? She's already flipped out once.
Yeah.
And is she a stable woman? Now, Clara Harris, to most people would say she's a charming woman, but underneath, what is she really like? And so
roll their Mercedes
judge,
footage.
I think, is going to.
Yeah, roll the
judge is gonna
Mercedes footage, exactly, because she wanted to get the job done, and she made sure she got the job done.
Well, isn't that about decision making? In a critical point in your life when you have to make decisions about your children, these 2 women made horrible decisions, well, in my mind, even though they're married to creepy, creepy people.
Mike, this woman killed somebody. I mean, the fact is she killed somebody. At some point in time, she snapped. You're going to put 3 kids with this woman who snapped? She's not right to be the mother of a coyote. Okay? She just don't got it.
What do you think, folks? Should Mary get those kids?
No. Yeah, I heard
half and half. Yes and no's.
She's, you know, look.
The power of a mother, huh?
Yeah, but this is not a mother. This is somebody who snaps. This is somebody who has no impulse control. This is somebody who just off the wall blew 4 bullets into a priest husband. And you know, why do you even want to take the risk?
Bruce, what do you think about?
Kids,
what do you think
kids?
about this? Because really, it hasn't been that long. I mean, maybe down the road, after years and years of psychological counseling, the kids are a little bit older. But this is fairly fresh.
Well, we're using terms like she's crazy and she's wacko. I don't think that's what the court found. There was not an insanity defense. I think you can snap, you can have a momentary lapse. Tennessee's going to look at this. They're going to look at what's in the best interest of the children. Tennessee presumes that the best interest is to be with a parent, or, and this is interesting because the Texas case would have been different. They would have never allowed the kids to go to the neighbor if the grandparents are suitable custodians, because Tennessee looks at a close family relationship first, and you actually have to show that they're not suitable.
But Joe, Bruce, are you saying that David Harris's parents aren't suitable? That's why the neighbors have the kids?
No, I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying if that case were in Tennessee, unless they came forward and proved they weren't,
right? They were.
His parents would have had the kids in Tennessee, not the neighbors.
But it's not true that that they didn't find out. The court didn't find that she was not insane, or that she was not troubled, or that she didn't have problems. They obviously found that she had problems because the judge in his sentencing sentenced her to an institution. What are you talking about? This is a woman who has definite problems. This is a woman who shouldn't have custody of kids, who shouldn't be around kids. And until we find out better that she is stable and that she doesn't do this stuff, and you got to give it some time here, and you better put her in custody.
Bruce, we'll give you the last word on this. Go ahead.
The judge did not sentence her to a mental institution. Her lawyers said, look, they could see this custody coming up. Your Honor, she could spend it in a jail, or she could spend it to be evaluated to make sure that she's fine, and the court chose the latter. to let her go.
Bruce, if it
into
walks like a duck, looks like a duck, and talks like a duck, it's a duck. And if they put him in a mental institution for therapy, the judge obviously had some inclination that she was sick or something was wrong.
We will see
David,
how
you
this
shouldn't
plays
put three
out,
kids
because we
like
got to
that.
keep track of this custody battle going on in
Yeah.
Tennessee, and we will do that for you
I think
here.
she'll get the kids.
Bruce,
All
we'll
right.
find out. Joe, thank you
We'll
very
see.
much.
We'll keep you abreast of the
Good to have you
situation.
here.
Thanks, guys, all of you for joining us today. We're going to move on now. Relationships between men and women are never black and white affairs. There's always a lot of gray. as we
Yeah,
all
some
know.
say the same is true for the worst kind of sexual assault, and they even have, what's kind of a new name for it, gray rape. Rape is one of the country's most taboo topics, but one new movie is tackling the subject head-on, Descent.
You brought me here, remember?
Actress Rosario Dawson plays a promising college student who falls for a fellow classmate, but after declining his sexual advances during a date, she is raped.
It hurts all in my head. I need to get over it. I know it.
The film is garnering rave reviews for its depiction of the psychological damage a date rape victim endures, damage unfortunately known to many women. Now, the latest issue of Cosmo magazine is identifying a new category of date rape, dubbed gray rape. The name refers to sex that they say falls somewhere between consent and denial, where both parties are unsure whether it's rape. The confusion is surprisingly common. According to the Department of Justice, 1 in every 5 women will be raped at some point during college. But half of all victims will not call what happened rape. So why the denial?
That number is just unbelievable
Yeah,
to me.
Department
1
of
in 5
Justice.
women in college will be raped, but they won't call it rape. All right, joining us to talk about gray rape, this concept, from Washington, D.C., is the author of A New Kind of Date Rape, and she's also a writer for Cosmopolitan magazine, Cosmo, Laura Sessions-Stepp. Thanks, Laura, for joining us. We also have the Chief Program Officer of Safe Horizon, the Victim Assistance Agency, B. Hansen.
And rape survivor Amber Crawford is here. Amber, thank you for coming on and telling your story. Criminal defense attorney Sam Gregory is here.
And psychologist Karen Binder-Bryans is here as well. Thank you.
Karen,
Welcome
good to see
back.
you again.